It was a bright morning in the city. The streets were busy. Cars moved fast. People hurried to work. And in the middle of it all, a tall black man stepped out of a black car. He wore a simple black suit, clean shoes, quiet eyes. He looked around, smiled softly, and walked toward one of the city's most expensive stores, Uplift and Co. It was a luxury brand. Only the rich came here. And the workers inside, they knew how to judge a person with just one look. The moment he entered, the air changed. Two staff members at the front looked at him, then looked away. They didn't smile, didn't greet him, didn't even ask, "How can I help you?" Instead, one of them whispered to the other, another one pretending to be rich, "Let's see how long he stays." They giggled quietly. The man heard it, but said nothing. He simply walked through the store slowly. His eyes touched each corner, the shelves, the displays, the lighting. Almost like he was studying the store. He reached a display of watches. Luxury watches. The kind that cost more than a car. He gently touched one. Another worker rushed toward him. "Sir," she said, faking a smile, "these watches are very expensive." He looked at her calmly. "I know," he said. She paused. "Are you planning to buy one?" He smiled politely. "Not today. I'm just looking." The smile on her face faded. "Well, please be careful. They're not for everyone." Then she walked away. A young staff trainee stood nearby. His name was Leo. He had just started working there 2 weeks ago. He saw everything, the rude glances, the fake smiles, the whispers. He watched the man walk quietly through the store, and something felt off. Not about the man, but about how everyone treated him. Leo wanted to help, but he hesitated. The last time he spoke up, the manager scolded him. "Let the real staff handle the real clients," they had said. So, Leo just watched. Meanwhile, the man moved toward the counter. There were 2 cashiers. Neither of them looked up. He waited. 10 seconds, then 20. Finally, he cleared his throat. One cashier sighed loudly and said, "Do you need something?" The man nodded. "Yes, I'd like to speak to the store owner." The cashier raised an eyebrow. "The owner? Sir, the owner doesn't take appointments like that. Who exactly are you?" The man smiled again. "I think he'll want to meet me." She laughed under her breath. "Sure, and I'm the president." She turned away. The man said nothing. He simply took out his phone. Leo noticed something on the screen. A logo. It was the same logo as the store's brand, Uplift and Co. But this version was golden, with one extra word under it. Founder. Leo's heart skipped a beat. He leaned forward, trying to see more. Was this man really someone important? Why didn't he say anything? Why was he letting them treat him like this? The man walked to a corner of the store and sat on a bench. He opened a small notebook and began writing. At the counter, the staff kept laughing. One said, "Why do they even let people like that in here?" Another added, "Maybe he's just trying to warm up. Homeless people do that sometimes." Leo couldn't take it anymore. He walked toward the man. "Excuse me, sir," Leo said gently. "Is there anything I can help you with?" The man looked up. For the first time, his smile looked real. "Thank you," he said. "What's your name?" "Leo," he replied. "You're the first kind voice I've heard today, Leo." Leo looked down, ashamed of his team. "Sir, I think you should speak to the manager. I'll call him for you." The man nodded slowly. "That would be good." As Leo walked away, he looked back once more. The man had put away his notebook. Now he was just waiting. Calm. Still. But something about him felt different now. Bigger. Stronger. As if the store itself didn't deserve him. Back at the counter, one of the staff laughed. "Let's see what drama this man tries next." Leo didn't laugh. Because deep in his heart, he knew something was coming. Something they weren't ready for. The man sat quietly on the bench near the entrance. His calmness was strange. The store buzzed around him, but he seemed in a different world. He watched the staff. He watched the customers. He watched everything carefully. Behind the counter, the staff were whispering. They didn't want the man to hear. Who does he think he is? One cashier asked. Yeah, acting like he owns the place, another replied. A young woman named Sarah said softly, I don't like how they talk about him. He's just a customer. But most of the staff laughed. Customer? Please, look at his clothes. They don't fit right. He's trying too hard. Sarah looked worried. She had worked here only a month. She wanted to fit in, but she also knew kindness. She wanted to say something to the man, but she was scared. The manager, Mr. Collins, walked in. He looked at the man sitting quietly. Then he whispered to the staff, keep an eye on him. Don't let him cause trouble. The man stood up and began to walk slowly through the store again. He touched the leather of a purse. He looked at the stitching on a jacket. He moved carefully, like a teacher checking the classroom. The staff watched him closely. One of them whispered, he's taking notes on his phone, probably planning to complain. Sarah looked at the man's phone screen. There were numbers, pictures, and messages. She didn't understand it all, but she knew it was important. The man stopped near a mirror. He looked at his reflection. Then he spoke softly to himself. Respect is earned, not given. He took a deep breath and smiled. Suddenly, a young trainee named Leo approached him. Sir, Leo said quietly, can I help you with anything? The man looked at Leo. His eyes softened. No, thank you. You are very kind. Leo smiled back. The manager walked over, his face hard. Sir, he said coldly, this store is for serious customers only. The man nodded. I understand. Then why are you here wasting our time? The man looked straight into his eyes. I'm here to see the owner. The manager laughed loudly. The owner? You're dreaming. The man's smile didn't fade. I think he'll want to meet me. The manager turned to security and whispered, watch him. One security guard followed the man silently. The man didn't seem to notice. He kept walking, observing every detail. He stopped in front of the expensive watch display again. The security guard leaned closer to the manager. That man is strange. The manager nodded. Strange or not, he has no right here. Meanwhile, the staff kept whispering. Sarah said, do you think he's really the owner? No way, someone said. Why would a rich CEO come here alone? Sarah thought about the man's calm face. She remembered how polite he was, even when ignored. She wished she could be brave like him. The man took out his phone again. He typed something fast. Then he put the phone away. Leo noticed again the golden logo on the screen. He whispered to himself, is he really the boss? The man smiled at Leo and said softly, you have a good heart, Leo. Remember that. Leo's eyes widened. How did the man know his name? Suddenly, the manager called out loudly, enough. Everyone stopped. The man turned to face him. Sir, if you're not buying something, I must ask you to leave. The man's calm voice filled the room. I am not here to buy. I am here to teach. The staff looked confused. The manager frowned. Teach? Teach what? Respect? The man said simply. The store grew quiet. No one spoke. The man's words felt heavy. Sarah looked at the man with new respect. Leo felt a spark inside him. The manager clenched his fists. He didn't like how this was going. The man looked around the store one last time. Then he said softly, I will meet the owner soon. And with that, he walked out the door. The staff stared after him. No one stopped him. Outside, the man paused. He looked back at the store. Then he whispered, change is coming. Inside, the staff was silent. Sarah sighed. Leo whispered, I hope so. The next day, the man returned to the store. He walked in with calm confidence. His eyes scanned the room slowly. Staff noticed him right away. Some stopped talking. Some whispered nervously. The manager, Mr. Collins, was already there. His face was hard, his smile forced. He stepped forward quickly. Sir, Mr. Collins said sharply, what are you doing here again? The man smiled politely. I came to speak with you. The manager's eyes narrowed. We have nothing to discuss. The man's voice stayed calm but strong. I believe we do. The manager glanced at the other staff. They looked uneasy. He cleared his throat. Fine. But make it quick. The man nodded. I want to talk about respect. The manager laughed bitterly. You think you can teach me respect? You don't even belong here. The man's eyes did not leave the manager's face. I belong everywhere my work has taken me, including here. The manager took a deep breath. Look, we get many customers who pretend to be rich. We can't waste time on them. The man's smile grew. Pretend? I built this company. I made this store what it is. The manager scoffed. Yeah, right. Show me some proof. The man reached into his jacket slowly. Everyone watched closely. He pulled out a black leather badge. The badge was shiny. It had gold letters. Chief Executive Officer, Lucent and Co. The room went silent. The manager's face turned pale. Staff gasped quietly. Is this a joke? The manager asked, voice shaking. The man's voice was calm, but firm. This is no joke. I am the CEO. I founded this company, and I am here to see how you treat people who walk through these doors. The manager swallowed hard. The man looked around. He saw the nervous faces of the staff. He saw the cashier who laughed at him the first day. He saw the security guard watching him with suspicion. Then he said, I want to meet each one of you. The manager shook his head. That's impossible. The man smiled. Nothing is impossible when respect is on the line. The man motioned to the young trainee Leo. Bring them here. Leo looked surprised but nodded. He quietly called all the staff to the main floor. Everyone gathered nervously. The man stood tall. His eyes moved from one person to another. Why did you ignore me when I first came? He asked calmly. No one answered. The man waited. After a moment, Leo stepped forward. I was scared, Leo said quietly. I wanted to help, but I didn't want to get in trouble. The man nodded. Thank you for your honesty. He turned to the others. Why else? The cashier who laughed first looked down. I didn't think you could afford to shop here, she said softly. The man sighed. That was wrong. He looked deeply into their eyes. Every person deserves respect, no matter their skin color, their clothes, or their money. The staff felt ashamed. One by one, they began to apologize. The manager spoke last. I'm sorry. I was wrong to judge you. The man smiled. This is a good start. But then, his face turned serious. I won't let this happen again. He looked at the manager. You will help me fix this. The manager nodded slowly. The man reached out his hand. Let's start a new chapter for Lucent and Co. The manager shook it. Everyone watched in silence. As the meeting ended, the man said softly to Leo, You showed courage. Keep that courage alive. Leo smiled proudly. The man turned to leave. Then, without warning, he stopped. He looked back and said quietly, Next time, we won't just talk about respect, we will live it. Then he walked out. The staff stood there, speechless. They knew things were about to change. The day after the CEO's visit, the store felt different. The staff came to work with nervous energy. Some whispered quietly about what happened. Others stared at the empty spot where the CEO had stood. Leo walked in early. He felt a mix of excitement and worry. What would happen next? Would things really change? Mr. Collins, the manager, called a meeting in the back office. The staff gathered, unsure what to expect. Mr. Collins looked serious. I spoke with the CEO, he began. There was silence. He is right. We have been unfair. We treated a customer badly because of how he looks. The staff looked down. Mr. Collins continued. We must change, starting today. He gave a clear order. No more judging customers. Everyone deserves respect. The staff nodded slowly. Leo felt hope rise inside him. Outside, the CEO watched the store from a nearby bench. He smiled softly. His phone buzzed. A message from Leo appeared. Thank you for giving me courage. The CEO replied, You have a good heart. Keep it. Back inside the store, changes began quickly. The staff practiced polite greetings. They helped customers with smiles. Sarah, the young woman who once doubted, now led the way. She said, Everyone deserves kindness. A few days later, the CEO returned. This time, he wasn't alone. He brought a team from the company's headquarters. They came to watch the new changes. The staff were nervous but proud. They wanted to show they could do better. The CEO walked slowly through the store. He stopped at each section. He watched how staff treated customers. He smiled when he saw respect. Then, the CEO called the staff to the center floor. He said, "You have done well, but we have more work." He announced a new training program. Respect and kindness must be part of who we are, not just today, but every day. The staff cheered quietly. Leo felt proud, but not everyone was happy. The manager's old friend, Mr. Blake, visited. He was a strict man who believed business is business. He said, "This kindness stuff will ruin the store." The CEO looked at him calmly. "We believe respect builds business, not the other way." Mr. Blake frowned. He warned, "If sales go down, don't blame me." The CEO smiled. "We are ready to prove respect sells." That evening, Leo talked with Sarah. She said, "I never thought respect would change so much." Leo nodded. "Me too. But it feels right." They looked toward the store's front window. The bright lights shone like a new beginning. The next weeks passed quickly. Customers noticed the change. They smiled more. They came back again. The store's sales began to rise. One afternoon, the CEO walked in. He stopped by Leo. "Your kindness made a difference." Leo smiled shyly. The CEO said, "You are part of this change." Leo felt proud like never before. Suddenly, the CEO's phone rang. He looked serious. He said, "There is a problem we must fix." The staff grew quiet. The CEO looked at them and said, "We have done well, but the real test is ahead." Days passed after the CEO's warning. The store was busy as usual. The staff worked hard to keep the new spirit alive. But the CEO knew something bigger was coming. He watched the news on his phone. A story about a nearby store chain was spreading fast. The other store had a problem. They had been caught treating customers badly. Videos showed rude staff ignoring people. Customers were angry. They started a boycott. The news said their sales were falling fast. The CEO called a meeting with his team. "We must be ready," he said. "Our new respect policy will face its first real test." He looked around the room. "We will not fail." Back at the store, the staff heard whispers from customers. Some were suspicious. "Is this really going to last? Will they treat us right every time?" The staff worked harder to prove the answer was yes. One afternoon, a group of customers entered the store. They looked serious. Some whispered, "Let's see if they have really changed." The staff smiled politely. Leo noticed the tension. Suddenly, a woman near the counter raised her voice. "This store ignored me last time I came." She pointed at a young cashier. The cashier looked scared. The manager stepped in quickly. "Ma'am, we are sorry for your experience." The CEO walked over calmly. He looked at the woman and said, "We want to make things right." The woman's eyes softened. She said, "I just want to be treated with respect." The CEO nodded. "You will be." The woman agreed to give the store another chance. The staff watched carefully. They made sure she felt welcome. Leo helped her find what she needed. She smiled as she left. That evening, the CEO gathered the staff. He said, "Today was the real test. We showed we can change. But we must keep this up every day." The staff cheered quietly. They felt proud. The next week, the store's sales rose. More customers returned. People talked about the good service. Sarah said, "It feels like a new family here." Leo smiled. "We made a difference." But the CEO knew this was only the start. He looked at his phone again. More challenges were coming. But he was ready. He told the staff, "Respect is a journey. Together, we will walk this path." The staff felt hope. They knew change was real. The days after the real test passed peacefully. The store's new spirit was strong. Staff smiled more. Customers smiled back. Leo and Sarah felt proud of their hard work. But the CEO knew change is never easy. He always said, "The hardest part is yet to come." One quiet afternoon, the store bell rang. A man in a sharp suit entered. He looked around carefully. His eyes stopped on the CEO. The CEO's smile faded. He felt a chill. The man walked up calmly. He held out his hand. "Mr. Johnson," he said. The CEO shook his hand slowly. "Mr. Blake," he replied. Mr. Blake was the CEO's old business rival. He owned a competing store chain. He had visited before, warning against the new kindness policy. Now he was back. Mr. Blake's voice was cold. "I heard about your changes, trying to make your store perfect with kindness." He laughed. "But business is about profits, not feelings." The CEO stayed calm. "We believe respect builds loyalty." Mr. Blake sneered. "We'll see how long that lasts." The staff watched nervously. Sarah whispered to Leo, "He's here to cause trouble." Leo nodded. The CEO looked directly at Mr. Blake. "I welcome the challenge." Suddenly, Mr. Blake pulled out a folder. He opened it and showed pictures. "Look at these." The pictures showed staff making mistakes, ignoring customers. The CEO frowned. "We are not perfect, but we learn and improve every day." Mr. Blake smiled. "I'm giving you a chance to give up or face the consequences." The CEO stood tall. "Respect is not a weakness. It is our strength." Mr. Blake's smile faded. He closed the folder. "Fine," Mr. Blake said, "but don't say I didn't warn you." He left the store with a cold stare. The CEO turned to the staff. "We have a fight ahead, but I believe in us." That night, Leo called his mother. He told her everything. She smiled and said, "Stay strong, Leo. You are part of something important." Leo felt hope and fear. The next day, the staff gathered. The CEO spoke from his heart. "We will face challenges, but we will never lose respect. We are a family now." The staff cheered. Sarah said, "We are ready." Leo smiled proudly. The CEO looked at them. "Let's show the world what respect means." The weeks after Mr. Blake's warning were tense. The staff worked harder than ever. Every customer mattered. Every smile counted. Leo woke early every day with a new sense of purpose. He believed in the CEO's vision. One busy afternoon, the store was full. Customers talked happily. The staff moved quickly. Suddenly, the bell rang. A group of important visitors entered. They were from the city council. The CEO greeted them warmly. He explained the new respect program, how the store changed, how the staff learned to treat everyone kindly. The visitors looked impressed. One woman said, "This is the example every business should follow." The city council decided to award the store a special prize for outstanding community service and respect. The staff cheered. Leo smiled wider than ever. But not everyone was happy. Mr. Blake was furious. He planned one last move. The next day, Mr. Blake spread rumors. He told suppliers to stop deliveries. He tried to hurt the store's business. The staff heard the news and felt worried. The CEO called a meeting. "We will not give up," he said firmly. "Respect means standing strong." Leo and Sarah worked overtime. They helped organize new deliveries. Customers heard about the fight. They came to support the store. They said, "We believe in you." The CEO stood at the front. He looked at his team. "We are more than a store. We are a family." Slowly, the store grew stronger. The deliveries came again. Sales increased. The city council's award made headlines. People talked about the power of respect. One evening, the CEO stood outside the store. Leo joined him. The CEO smiled. "Look what we built." Leo nodded. "We changed things." The CEO placed a hand on Leo's shoulder. "Remember, respect is not just words. It is action, every day." Leo smiled. "I will never forget." The staff gathered for a celebration. They laughed and hugged. They had won more than a prize. They had won respect. And the CEO knew. This was just the beginning.